Yeah, this is fair use, Act of 1976, fair use of criticism, educational, and scholarship. I am not making any money from this. Fair use, fair use. Yeah, BBC states U.S. and Iran exchange strikes and accuse each other of violating ceasefire. All praises, all honor, and all glory. Call Loyum, Brakata Yahweh, Brakata Yahweh Shai, Brakata Yahweh, Brakata Yahweh Shai. Call Loyum Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to your sisters, your chwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahawada with the lesson. Right. Um, Continuing on, it says the U.S. has conducted new strikes on Iran following a drone attack on a Panama flagged vessel in the Strait of Hormuz on Saturday. Yeah, this is continuing on. The BBC also states that U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, said it hit multiple targets across Iran in direct response to to continued aggressions against commercial shipping. Hmm. Every time they do, it just seems this is doesn't make sense. It's like funny style behavior. I mean, that's what the ports there are for ships to come. But you're going to be aggressive towards ships. I don't know. It just don't make sense. But hey, it says in retaliation, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, said it had launched missiles and drones at U.S. in infrastructure in Kuwait and Bahrain, and in a statement shared to state media, right? Following the exchange of fire, the U.S. and Iran accused each other of violating the ceasefire agreement, right? So basically, it's like what Apostle Har said. They're not coming out of that place, right? It's going to be like this until it heats up and Russia gets involved, China gets involved, right? Something's going to happen. They're going to find some type of large deposit of gold or something that's going to draw them into it. Something's going to happen, or the conflict is just somebody's going to strike somebody, and it's going to spiral out of control. Something's going to happen, but they're not coming out of there, right? You know, sit sitcom said in a statement, Iran was giving a chance to honor the ceasefire agreement, but elected not to when it forces launched one-way attack drones that hit MT Kaiko, a Panama flag tanker. All right. Yeah, this is all, you know, yeah, I think it's all staged, man. Because it just, I don't know. That's what I get. Well, of course, I mean, yeah, it's all a stage anyway. But it's going to lead to that final war, right? At the end of the day, in response, it said U.S. fighter jets conducted strikes on 10 Iranian military targets in multiple locations in and near the Strait of Hormuz. These include military equipment, communication systems, air defense sites, and drone storage facilities. So yeah, you know, basically something's gonna happen. They ain't leaving that place. See, because yeah, that final war has to happen. You know, plus not to mention they're using it for a to put a strain on the earth, on the world, right? And choke out the earth. You know, the resources, you know, the energy. You know, and it's a great way to affect the energy, right? It's a great way to affect the energy and make an energy crisis, right?
The update. So I got some bad news. Really, really, really bad news. About a month ago, I was talking about how they're going to impose a naval blockade on Iran. In fact, I was talking about that back in January, but the idea occurred to me once again because it appeared as though the U.S. warships were operating at about a distance as you would to be able to successfully interdict Iranian vessels and cargo going in and out of Iran without putting their navy in harm's way. And it occurred to me that that was the most logical explanation for why they were going to deploy Marines to the area, was to board and seize vessels. Well, it appears as though that's what's going to happen. And I'm not trying to come off as pompous when I say pretty much no expert that I talked to said that. So just a reminder, here's what I said on March 8th. They're carrying out a naval blockade of Iran because they can't do shit about Iran's area denial in Hormuz, but they need to be careful because many of those ships are Chinese. This is March 8th, okay? And now everybody's talking about the possibility of the U.S. interdicting Chinese ships, which of course would be some manner of casus belli. More on that in just a moment, because when I say that the news is bad today, it is worse than most people can possibly imagine. The USS Abraham Lincoln is acting as a gatekeeper in the Arabian Sea, ensuring that unauthorized ships can't pass. You see, I was just a month ahead of the curve here. They intend to choke off Iran's seaborne imports and exports, only a fraction of which can be rerouted through Caspian routes, which of course they attacked. About a week after I made this, the Israelis attacked a lot of the warships, the naval presence in the Caspian Sea, Iran's naval presence, in an attempt to interdict the Russian shipments going into Iran. Most of their imported food comes from Russia. War 3 update. Couple of hours, the U.S. is now saying it is time to evacuate the Middle East. I'm going to share with you the articles, and we're also hearing that at this very moment, Iran, the supreme leader, has now come out and said the U.S. must evacuate because we are kicking them out, because talks have failed, and we are about to enter into attacks, and Iran is threatening to attack the United States. The U.S. and Israel are threatening to attack Iran, and it looks like we are about to enter into war. So if you are somebody that has been saying that the Middle East conflict is going to end up in war, it looks like you might be right. Now, it has not officially been announced yet. It has not officially been said that the talks have failed, but it's looking like that is the route we're going. And also, we have heard that the 6th round of talks are now essentially canceled, that they were unable to come to a scheduling agreement, and it looks like things have fallen apart. So let me share with you the latest headlines so you can see it for yourself. The US and the UK are now issuing a rare warning. Evacuations taking place in the Middle East. Moves come after Iran threatens to attack America's bases if they are struck first. The US, 2 hours ago, is now evacuating personnel from the Middle East amid growing tensions. Past couple of hours, the US is now saying it is time.
So this is Joel chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "For behold," which means to look, feast your eyes, look, pay attention. In those days, and we're in those days as of right now, and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, right? Which means slavery, right? And normally Judah and Jerusalem represents the southern kingdom, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But at this point, it's going into all 12 tribes, right? Because the Lord said that he will raise up the tents of Judah first, right? Yeah, so this is Zechariah chapter 12, verse 7, and it says, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai also shall save the tents of Judah first, right? That the glory of the house of David, right? And that's ultimately what the Lord is bringing back. He's building back that house of David, right? Which is the elect. And the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, right? Right? Which, like I said, it represents the southern kingdom. But under David, all 12 tribes were under David's authority, right? The kingdom wasn't rent. It wasn't split. It was at its most powerful under the time of David, right? Right, and even the land, right? Because it says the inhabitants. So the people were people before a place, but even the land was flourishing. Everything was in order. It says, do not the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah, right? Because the Lord's putting that setting that, what you call a standard, or setting the power position, setting it up so that Judah, being the head tribe, starting with Yahweh Shai, King David, right, and so on, right, because even the 12 would be, right, be part of the southern kingdom, right. In the time when Yahweh Shai, he said, you as 12 apostles or disciples, which became apostles, will be judging the Israelites with 12 thrones. Yeah, so this is a Bible Hub. I'm just gonna go right here because I like this version, the new international version. And it says, Yahweh Shai said unto them, truly I tell you, at the renewal, right? Because that's ultimately what the Lord is doing. That's what the whole thing of repentance mean. We were already established, but we fell away. We went away after these dumb idols. We became Gentiles, right? As the scriptures say, right? But now there's a renewal of all things, right? Beautiful, beautiful. It says, when the Son of Man, which is a reference to Yahweh Shai, who ignorantly or even willingly calls him JC, you know. Some people are willingly ignorant, you know. Sits on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, which he was speaking to the disciples, which became apostles, which would judge, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So, right? So you have to establish that first. And that's, it is all 12 tribes, but also you have to establish that the Lord is raising the tents of Judah first, right? Now we're going to come back here to the blue letter and go to this transliteration, transliterated, English Strong's transliterated, and we're going to go to the word first.
Strong's H 7223. Rishon. Rishon.
Okay, so it's a Rishon, right? And it looks like there's a root word, so we're going to go through that. It says first, primary, former. See, right? It tells you that Israel is the former of all things, which the Lord's going to put us back into that thing of where, ancestors, right? Put us back into the position of our ancestors, right? Because it's a promise that the Lord had given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Which is our ancestors, former things, foremost, right? Of a location, right? And there was a certain location, that land that is basically is what they call the Middle East, is actually Israel, right? Right, from the Nile River all the way over to what's it called, the Tigris, Euphrates, right? All the way over to the Tigris and Euphrates River. That's actually supposed to be how big Israel is. It's supposed to go through that whole vast part of Western Asia, right? Which they call the Middle East, right? And but the Lord's going to restore it to that former glory, first in time, first chief in degree, first before, formerly at first, right?
Strong's H 7221. Rishah. Rishah.
Rishah, right? It says beginning time, early time. I think that's pretty much it. But then it has one more, so you get an understanding.
Strong's H 7218. Ramath Negev. Ramath Negev. Second entry. Rosh. Rosh.
Rosh, right? Which that's how we know that it's talking about when you go into the thing, it goes into being chief, right? Or head, you know what I mean? So like Russia, Shar, yeah, Rosh, Shar, right? Which goes into prince. And then, but we are also known as Rosh, Yasharallah, right? Chief, basically prince of Yahweh, right? So, but we know that came during the time of those were Jakes that ruled, and of course they just took over the name, But it says head, top, summit, upper part, chief, right? See, total, sum, height, front, beginning, head, man, right? Animals, yes. So the head man, the head man is what? Yahweh Shai. And then it's telling you that it's going to be basically the tabernacles of David, right? Which King David would be there, right? It's going to set us back in our first estate, our former estate. Um, yeah, chief, head, man of city, nation, place, family, right? What? Priest. That's important, see? Because we're going to be kings and priests, right? Head, fourth, beginning, chief, choice, best, head, company. Let me see. Bands. Let's see how you do this one.
Division. Division.
Division. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, yeah. Because you got your different ranks of people. Division. Summit. Yeah, something. All right. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that's because that's just kind of important to what we just read right there, going into why the Lord is bringing us back and what this whole thing is about. It's really so the Lord is causing World War III to happen. So this ain't have nothing to do with us, but it has everything to do with us, but nothing to do with us as far as we're not the ones who has the the engine or whatever. We're not the ones who's putting things. We're just doing what we're told. As far as just prophecy, just putting out the truth. It says, and I will also gather the nations. See, so as the Lord's bringing us back, putting us in our right mind, right, to prophesy the downfall of the system, this queendom, the system, the world as we know it, because it's not just going to affect them shutting the Strait of Hormuz and then straight the Red Sea. It's not just going to affect America. It's going to affect the world. See, which I believe this is like a world stage thing. I think they've already had their conversations, and where they kind of want this to go, because they're all in a league with the elite, right? If you don't believe me, type in 15-minute cities in Iran, and then type in 15-minute cities in America, right? Since they're beefing, type in 15-minute cities in Ukraine, right? Since Ukraine's been having this hard time with this war with Russia, and then type in 15-minute cities in Russia, and you will see something very, very similar in all these places that these people are so-called supposed to be not in league with each other. They're supposed to be completely and totally against each other, but they're all moving towards that Novus Ordo Seclorum, so which is going to bring in Yahweh Shai, and so forth. He's bringing them down. What it says, and I will bring them down into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, right, which is that region. Like I said, from the Nile all the way to the Euphrates is actually, the land of Israel, right? And that's why the Lord tells Gog of Magog that you will come down and into the land, into my land of unwalled villages, which is talking about bringing them down into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat for World War III. And it says, and I will plead with them there for my people, right? And plead means to what? Judgment, right? Matter of fact, I might have to get that so you know that this is really what's happening. Doomsday, Judgment Day is happening, right? And for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered. See, and that's ultimately what happened through slavery, through the transatlantic slave trade, through the Arab slave trade, going all the way back to 70 AD. They had a Roman slave trade, right? Right. You go back to you read Babylon to Timbuktu. It says 1 million. Well, it says black Jews, which they put Jewish, but we know that that's a made up terminology, right? So 1 million black Jews fled into Africa, fleeing Roman persecution and slavery. So this has been happening for quite some time, of us being scattered among the nations and parted my land, in which who's parted the Lord's land? That goes into them small hatters, small toppers that parted the land with at the time it was with the what they call the Palestinians, which those are not Palestinians, because Palestinians are supposed to be Hamites. There's Ishmaelites who are calling themselves after a Hamitic name, which that's part of the covering cast too, right? Just like the Egyptians that they calling the Egyptians, those are actually meant to be Hamites, tall Hamites, like Manuk Bol. That's what the Egyptians look like, not those people. Those are Ishmaelites posing as Egyptians. So the Lord is about to put everybody back into the formal state in which they belong. Yeah. So this is back to the blue letter, showing you this Joel 3 and 2. I'm just going to skip down to plead, right? Because it's in the transliteration, so we have an understanding of what plead means.
Strong's H 8199. Shafat. Shafat.
Yeah, it says shafet there, but it says to judge. See? Really, so when the Lord's pleading, it's really there for what? A judgment. Govern.
Vindicate.
Oh, vindicate, right? Punishment. Let's see. Let's go with, see what vindicate means.
Vindicate.
It says to vindicate means to clear someone or something of blame. Right? That would be the elect, right? Because we're all guilty, but the Lord's going to clear everything up with the elect, and then bring forth the judgment that belongs to these nations. Suspicion. I'm saying it right. How you say it?
Suspicion.
Suspicion. So like it's suspicion or doubt, right? Because see, you have any doubt that the children of Israel are the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, the Lord's about to clear it all up by judging the world, by judging these nations, right? Okay, yeah. This is to decide controversies, right? See, yeah, and yeah. So all the different you know, the speaking down, the different mistreating the Lord's people, the controversies, you know, of God's people, of God, you know, whether if he's real or he's not. So basically the Lord's going to put to bed all those things, you know. You're going to know that his people, or the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, right, and the Israelites, you know, that's scattered around the world, but you're going to know that he's God. You're going to know that he's real. It's because he's going to put to bed all that controversy. He's going to execute what judgment, right? Right? That's what he's going to do. Discriminating of man, right? Because what? It's going to be a discrimination against you, right? Because you discriminated his people. Vindicating, we went into vindicating already. Condemning and punishment. Right. So yeah, basically a judgment, right? Put out on all the nations, right? To lead you down to the valley of Yehoshaphat. Basically World War III for judgment. Right? This is Theophin Nick. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Let's see if I could do it this way.
Theophanic.
Yeah, theophonic. Theophonic, right? Theo meaning what? God, right? Theophonic refers to or is characterized a theophany. I think that's how you say it. Theophany.
Theophany.
Theophany. A theophany is a temporary, tangible, or visible manifestation of a deity. Often what? God, right? So the Lord's about to manifest himself, and you're gonna know that he's real to human beings. Usually accompanied by serene, 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 how you say that? Serene, Surrey, serene, Surrey. If I'm saying that right, serene, Surrey. Phenomenon, serenity phenomenon. It's like, yeah,
Sensory.
sensory phenomenon, like an intense sight or sound or weather event, right? Let me see what this sensory. See what that means.
Sensory.
Okay, sensory. Sensory pertains to the physical sense. Oh, right, sight, sound. Yeah, right. So now, yeah, you're gonna see them. You're gonna hear it. You're gonna know. Smell, taste. So yeah, everybody touch, right? Because people, I don't believe in God because I can't see him, smell him. Well, the Lord, hey, what is Pimp C? Before he died, he was telling he gonna make you smell his cologne, right? That's what the Lord's gonna come and do. He gonna put foots to asses. And he gonna make you smell his cologne. Hey, the temperature is gonna be up, right? Right. And how the nervous system is interpreted this information. How do you say that? I'm saying I'm sorry. Interprets, right? Okay. I said this information, right? And a lot of you gonna be in your thing is you're gonna be doing a number 2 on yourself, right? Yeah. So basically, yeah, they're not coming out of that thing. They're not gonna come to an agreement, right? They're gonna go into World War III, and the Lord's gonna show up. This is what it's all for. It says Isaiah chapter 63:1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Right. That's speaking of our Lord Yahweh Shai. Right. He's coming. It's gonna look like he had dyed garments. Right. Right. Which normally you use like some type of flour or some type of something from nature, and you rub it or you wash your clothes in it, and then you let it dry out, right? And then it stains it red, basically, right? But this staining or dyed garments is to talk about the blood, right? That's going to come from the slain of Edom, but not just Edom, throughout all of Western Asia, which they call the Middle East, which is what they call the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the Valley of Yehoshaphat, or the Mountain of Troops, which that's what's going to be left there. It's going to be nothing but troops are going to be left there, unalived, slain, right? For because World War III is ramping up, right? So it says this that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, right? And he's coming in that angelic power, that angelic form, and with all authority given to him from the Father to judge, right? To plead with you, which means to judge that and I speak in righteousness, mighty to save. See, he's coming to save the elect. See, I will bring back what? Judah and Jerusalem, which goes into that what? The tabernacles of what? Of David, right? But it's all 12 tribes, but it starts with those the ones that you hate the most, because those are the ones, those Negro tribes, the ones that everybody hate. That's why the Lord said that way they will not magnify themselves against Judah, because all the strength is going to come behind it, the strength, right? The righteousness. So you'll have no choice but to bag down and bow down and get in order, or get unalived. It says, wherefore art thou red in thy apparel? Like, why is your apparel red? Which, like I said, it's dyeing, right? Like a way you used to dye your garments. But this one says, thy garment It says, yeah, thy garment like him that treadeth in the wine fat, right? Like like you squishing grapes and splashing the grapes and the thing which this is um Apostle Hari says that this is it's poetic. It's it's almost like rap music. They have the different ways of saying they they unalive someone or whatever. You know, some people just come out, I shoot you with my gat, pull out my gun. Some people they go into some, I'll wet your shirt, right? Well, how is wetting someone's shirt dangerous? It's because the wetting of someone's shirt will be the blood, which is just basically meaning like this what it is, the blood of the grape, right? The wine press, the wine fat. And it's I have treaded the wine press alone, and of the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in my anger, see, and trample them in my fury, and their blood, right, shall be sprinkled upon my garment, and I will stain, right, because that's normally how you dye it, you stain it, and I will stain all my raiment, right? Here's the point right here. For the day of vengeance is in what? In my heart. La'ab is mine. In the Hebrew, it's mine. So he's constantly thinking of this. He's meditating on the time that he's going to have you in the valley of Yahweh Shabbat. And the year of my redeemed, right? And he's also meditating on bringing the elect back. He can't wait to bring the elect back, bring back the tabernacle of David. Right? It's come, right?
Yeah, so this is Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 13. It says, For I have sworn by myself, saith Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, that Basra, right, which is the chief place of Esau, right, shall become a desolation, right, a reproach, a waste, and a curse. And I will, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. I have heard a rumor from Yahweh, Basham Yahweh Shai, an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, right, which is the mouthpiece, the prophets, right, sent to what? To give you the message, right, which goes into, it being, messengers also mean angel, but just to give you the message, right? But you have that through the internet. The word has went out and reached into the ends of the world. Now their whole thing is they want to make you a reproach for the word. They want to make it illegal, but it's already done. It's already said and done. You're already locked into not coming out of this Iran war, which they're already speaking of what, boots on the ground, right? At some point in time, real soon. So you're not coming out of this, right? And this is all the plans of the Lord. See, and the Lord just has as a mouthpiece, so you can't stop it, right? An ambassador. That's what we said. What doesn't it say that ye are ambassadors of Hamashiach, right? I know in the thing it tells you Christ, but we don't follow under that thing because it's Hamashiach, right? That's how you say anointed, right? So we're just the mouthpiece, We're sent amongst all you heathens, right? Whether you're Israelite with a heathenistic mentality, or you're just some straight up heathens. The decree is set, right? Because judgment is going to go out, and a decree goes into it being what the law is about to be laid down, right? Right, saying, gather ye together and come against her, right? So you saw all these militaries around the world
are going to fight. They're going to bring you down to the valley of Yahweh and rise up to the battle, right? See, so you're not leaving that place at all. For lo, I will make thee small amongst the heathen, which that's happening now. Israel is being despised. People are looking at them sideways, which now they're trying to go about passing certain laws and certain things that you can't say this or that about them. Oh no, that's anti-SIM card. All these different things. But it's not going to help. It's already over. And it says, and despised among men, right? See? And that's what it is, man. You talk trash, then you take it back and you say you want peace talks, and then you talk trash, then you say you want peace. No one can, no, that makes you despised, man. Nobody could trust a man like that, man. Don't you know that it tells you that in the scriptures? A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Why would I deal with someone who's unstable? I'm going to despise that person, right? That's just what it is. For it says, thy terribleness have deceived thee. See, and at one point in time, you was a hegemony. You were the big bully on the block, right? You were able to go and bully everybody however you want. And here it is. They done shot whatever amount of what do you call it? Arsenal towards these different places, and Kuwait and these other places. And if you can't protect, like it was said, if you can't protect the bases that they allow you to be on, how can you protect them? So not only is Iran going to want you out of there, all the people in what they call the Middle East, which is the Western, Western Asia, they're going to want you out of there, right? So it says, but that whole thing what deceived you, it brought you into this. Oh, we could just go in there. We're gonna boom, and we'll be out there in 2 weeks. We'll be out there. That's what you were saying, because you're used to being that having that hegemony, but it deceived you. Thy terribleness have deceived thee, and thy pride. Oh yeah, hella pride with the Edomite, especially Trump. And it's such a great deception to have such a pride, and then and not meet expectations, man. The pride in thy heart, La'ab, is basically your mind. O thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rocks, right? Going back to you being what? The caveman, the Caucasian, right? The cave dweller. That's what Caucasian means, right? So it's basically it's not talking about anybody else in the world. It's specifically talking about you, right? That holdeth the heights of the hills, right? You got these different governments and these different things, and a lot of people want to be like America. They wanted to do all these things, but now not so much. Now they start looking at you with a side eye, like you have to really do something to come out of this, because a small country like Iran has been basically muscling you, right? So it ain't looking too good, right? It says, though thou shouldst make thy nest as high, thy nest as high as the eagle, right? And which brothers always went into that. How you was it when they falsified, they went to the moon. He said that the eagle's landed, right? Which that's one way of you trying to install your nest, right? Which is the eagle on high, but also just above the Israelites, and above all the other nations, because that's what you do. It talks about you puff up out of your after your fellows, right? Which makes you despised. Those are the people that's supposed to be, your companions. It says, I will bring thee down from thence, right? So from your rulership, you are ruling the world, right? The earth Job 9:24, the earth was given into the hands of the wicked. You're ruling, but I will bring thee down thence, because that's what the Lord said. Would you say, we are impoverished, but we'll return and build desolate places? The Lord said, yeah, they will rebuild, but I will throw down. And that's what the Lord said. Look, the Lord said, I will bring thee down. I will bring thee down thence, saith Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai. Also, Edom shall be a desolation, right? So all of Edom, not just the ones over here in America, all of Edom, wherever you're at, every one that goeth by it shall be astonished and shall hiss at all the plagues, right? The missiles, the desolation, the disarray, the confusion, right? Thereof. And as in the overthrow, right, of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash, no man shall abide there, neither shall the Son of Man dwell in it, right? So nobody's going to dwell in America ever again, but you are going to get led to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, right? And it says, behold, if you guys look, pay attention, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan, which that's where the Lord's going to meet you at, right? In that, right where you at. I said that land is supposed to be Israel from Egypt to the Euphrates, and it said that's where the Lord is going to appear. You know, what it said something about. I read that definition, that theos. I don't know how to say it right, but basically it was saying it was gonna manifest God to the point that you're gonna know that it's real. It's gonna be you're gonna be able to see, taste. You're gonna be able to smell and touch, because he's gonna physically come, and that's gonna be. And it says something about it being a phenomenon, right? Which that's what they call the UFOs, unidentified flying phenomenons. So you're gonna see a phenomenon, right? And that's when he's coming as a phenomenon from the swellings of Jordan against the habitations of the strong, right? Because you're the strong one, you're the strong guy, you're the hegemony guy, that the bully on the block, right? It says, but I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is a choice man that I may appoint over her, which would be Yahweh Shai, King David, right? For who, which is talking about the nation of Israel, the Lord will appoint over the nation of Israel, who? Yahweh Shai, King David, the 12, right? Starting with the southern kingdom, but all of Israel is going to come back, right? That's the 144,000, right? And it says, who who is like me? No, Yahweh Shai. The only ones like Yahweh is Yahweh Shai. So, and who will appoint me the time, right? No one knows the time. Even Yahweh Shai said no one knows the time, hour that he's going to come back, but what the Father. So the Father's going to appoint that time, the time of what? Judgment. And who is that shepherd that will stand before me, right? The only one could stand before the Most High, Yahweh, is Yahweh Shai, right? It says, therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, because you're not coming out of that land. You're not coming out of this whole thing. Because even if you did pull out some type of way, if you got out of the war and you came back to America, and then something's going to happen that's going to draw you back. It's going to bring you back into there. But I don't think you're leaving there, right? Because you're there. You're stuck, right? You're in your 250th year of America, and you're at the end of your kingdom. So therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakakadash, that he have taken against what? Edom, right? Like they say, what they say, don't shoot the messenger. We're just messengers, right? But we know that you're going to do that. You're going to, because that's part of prophecy too. The what they say in Canada, they're gonna block it. So they're gonna say certain things could be considered hate, and if that someone's considered that you could spend a year in prison or whatever it is, and which that's going to be throughout the four corners of the earth at some particular time, right? Because he you hate that the truth is out there, but it's already over with, and his purpose that he purposed against the habitations of Teman, right? Let's go back into those head small tops, small hatters, tiny tops, which a lot of those you wish are Germans, and they made a lot of the decisions. Even when it comes to those nukes being built, they came from the German scientists, the intelligence of the Temanites, in which a lot of decisions came from the Temanites of how to get into the land and how to pretend to be to say that you're the Lord's people in order to have the power throughout the earth to become the world banks, to control everything, to bring you to this very time right now, so you could bring in your Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is only going to lead you into World War III and only going to lead you into Judgment Day, right? So you got to push the micro C hip soon. We know that's got to happen, because that's why even sometimes when I'm opening up my bank app, it keeps trying to get me to put in my biometrics. So at some point in time, you're not going to be able to get in at all unless you put in your biometrics. So it says, against the habitations of Teman, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, which they did. That's the tiny tops. They drew you out. Now you're in it, but you're not going to win it, right? So the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall be. Yeah, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Yeah, so this is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17. Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. I will stir up the Medes, which is that place, where the Medes we're living at. It's that region, pretty much where Russia's living at. So we understand that that's basically talking about Russia when it's talking about the Medes, because that's the area. Sometimes the Lord talks about the landmass, but it represents the peoples, and this is basically talking about that landmass, the Medes, that landmass, but it's talking about the people. Against them which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. See, because basically, they've had Teman, the tiny tops, the world bankers, and America, do economic hits on them. And basically, it's, basically they're going to be kind of like what they're doing now. They're doing all these false, fraudulent negotiations. And so when it's time for negotiation with Russia, he's going to see all the games you already played with Iran. He ain't going to want nothing to do with it. It says their bowls, right, which are those missiles, right, nuclear missiles, that Satan 1, the Satan 2, the hypersonic missiles, also shall dash the young men into pieces, and they shall have no pity upon the fruit of the womb, right? So it's going to be men, women, and children. They get dashed into pieces by those hypersonic intercontinental ballistic missiles, man. Nuclear missiles, right? At that. Their eyes shall not spare, because a missile don't have feelings. And once it's shot, it can't return, right? And Babylon, right, which is America, so this is the daughter of Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, right? Because this is the top kingdom. Everybody wanted to, be like America. They're like I believe there's a McDonald's and Coca-Cola and all this like American stuff in Russia and China, right? All this other madness that America has created, it's in all these other countries. Big old tall skyscrapers. Everybody's walking around in a 3-piece suit with a tie on, right? That's ultimately like American customs, right? And people want to be like it, the beauty of the kingdoms, right? Right? So the Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, right? Yeah, that was Babylon, the glory of kingdoms. The beauty of the Chaldeans' excellency shall be as when Yahweh, or the Most High Power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. See, and the Lord brought that up again. So it's going to be what they call fire and brimstone. Right? Yeah, so this is Ezekiel 38:3, blue letter. You know, the English Strong's transliteration. It says Ezekiel 38:3, and said, thus saith the outer one, power, the Most High Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, I am against thee, O Gog, right? Which that's talking about Russia. And how we know it's talking about Russia? Because of this right here. It says, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, right? So we go into that word, chief, right? Which we kind of went into it earlier.
Strong's H, 7218. Ramath Negev. Ramath Negev. Second entry. Rosh.
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 Yeah, Rosh. Rosh is in, well, head, top, summit, upper, right? Chief, right? That's the main thing. Chief, because that's what it's supposed to be. Because that's what it was talked about. Chief. I said a chief prince, right? So we know that word goes into chief. Company, upper, head, top person, chief, head man of city or nation, place, family, or priest, right? Top people, right? And you go to the word prince, it's shar, like when you say Israel, and the paleo Yashar Allah. So Yah meaning he, Shar is prince, Allah meaning power or God, right? So Shar, right, which how we say it, even though this one goes not basically not Nasir. This is Nasir in this one, but you would say it the way it's meant to be said in the paleo, Shar, Rosh Shar, because we said Roshar, yeah, Roshar, right, like Russia. That's how you break it down. Because, you know, it says one lifted up, chief, there you go, it says it right there, chief, prince, see? So what we already know, Rosh Shar, right? That's how you say it. Rosh Shar, captain, leader, rising mist, vapor, right? Something that's rises above. Governor, see? Governor, chief, right? That's what it is. Right? Yeah. So this is Ezekiel chapter 38:4. It says, and I will turn thee back, right, to the USSR mentality, you know, Rosh Shar, right? And put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth all of thy armies, horses and horsemen, right? Because they have that BRICS nation, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, right? And those are huge populations, especially when you deal with India and China. It has huge populations. So it's why why it basically I think I'm gonna try to skip down to it because it's a lot. So I'm trying to keep it short a little bit if I can, as best I can. And it says clothed, all of them clothed in all sorts of armor, even a great company, see, it's huge, great company, with bucklers and shields, and them handling swords, right? Which the modern day sword is the gun. And what's Iran? The actual name of Iran before it was Iran? What? Persia, right? So all of them are going to be connected to Rosh Shar, right? And it says Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them, and all of them with shield and helmet for war against who? Against Babylon, against her and her the least of the flock that drew them out, which are the tiny tops. Yeah, so this is Ezekiel chapter 38:8. It says, after many days thou shalt be visited, right? In the latter years, right? And obviously this is where we're at. We're in the latter years, right? We're at the end of all things. We're at the end of this thing. End of Esau's rulership, right? The return of our Lord is fastly approaching, right? We're at the 250 year of America. This thing is coming to an end. They're being visited, right? We got the UAPs always seeing them, right? They're witnessing the UAPs, so the Lord's visiting them, right? And they have a not that they've never seen them before, but they're more frequently, right? You're seeing UAPs, or what they call UFOs, are frequently being seen, which are the vehicles of the angels, which is showing you what judgment is about to come. The Lord's about to plead with these nations for his people, which is judgment, right? And it says, thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them, right? Because the Lord's going to bring back the nation of Israel, right? Being so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, right? And the Israelites that are scattered around the world. But also, what they're going to come into that land to come against the tiny tops, the one that, because they're not just going to just leave. They got to have a fight, right? And says, thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, right? Going into this part where I want it, because showing how big that is because of the BRICS, because of India has a huge population, China has a huge population. I believe they got North Korea behind them, which is a pretty decent sized population. They have a lot of huge populations. That's not including, like I said, Libya, South Africa, all these other people with them. It's not including Russia in itself. I mean, you're talking a lot to people, right? Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. So it's going to be a lot of people in the valley of Yehoshaphat, man. And that all that bands, and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Yeah, so this is Joel chapter 3, verse 12. It says, let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yehoshaphat, right? Right, for there will I set to judge, right? This time it didn't say plead. It said judge, which that's what he's going to do. All the heathen round about, right? So all you nations are going to come down to the valley of Yehoshaphat. See, it's not just America. America, you're stuck there. But Roshar is coming too, right? All the BRICS nations are going to come with them to cover the land like a cloud, to come against the tiny tops. But at the same time, the Lord's going to, this is all to bring back the true nation of Israel, right? Right, because it's time for what? For harvest. It says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe, right? So we're set. The sins have reached unto heaven. You're pushing the micro C hip, right? You're causing all sorts of calamities on the earth. The Lord, you finally reached your time period. You finally reach where your time comes to an end. That's just that. Right? Now it's time for reaping. Right? The Lord said it. We're gonna when that time the angels are gonna come in and reap what? The wheat and the tares. Right? The tares, he's gonna bind them up and toss them into that fire. Right? Destroy them. Whether if it's in the valley of Yehoshaphat, or it's going to be over here in America when those missiles get shot here in America, right? And it says, come and get down, for the press is full. See, going into that wine press. The wine press is full. It's ready to get stomped on. It's ready to, for the press is full, the fatness overflow, for their wickedness is right. It's finally reached its peak. The Lord can't take no more. It's done. Their wickedness is great. The multitudes, showing how big the militaries are going to be when you're dealing with especially just like the BRICS in itself alone, right? It says multitudes in the valley of what? Of decisions. So that's where the Lord is bringing you down to, into the valley of decision, right? Right? Which some people call the mountain of troops, Yahweh Shaphat, the mountain of troops, the valley of decision, right? It's all the same place, right? Ready for what? For judgment. For the day of the Most High is near in the valley of what? Of decision. Yeah, so this is Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 32. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen, which I shewed thee before, and then shall my son be declared, right? See, Yahweh Shai is coming back. Yahweh Shai is going to be declared, right? Ultimately, right? Which he's also part of the southern kingdom, right? You know, he's from the tribe of Judah, right? So it's going to be declared, you know, Yahweh Shai, King David, the 12, the 144,000, man. It's going to be all declared, right? Whom thou sawest as a man ascending, right? Coming down to earth, right? And that's the second coming of our Lord. It says, and when all these people hear his voice, right? This is the time of World War III, because they're going to be, they're going to basically be fighting each other in the time of World War III, you know, America fighting China and Russia, Israel fighting Yemen and Iran, right? And, they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to come in with a couple more of their allies, right? Because I know the UK don't want to be involved, but they're involved. That's why they had to pull a lot of their people out, right along with America, out of the so-called Middle East right now, And it says, people, it's every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. That's World War III. So as they fighting each other in the time of World War III, or whatever battle that they have, wherever they're having it at, they're all going to come down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, like the Lord said. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. So they're going to come and fight the Lord. Yeah, so this is Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 5. So I'm going to jump up on this one. It says, and after this I beheld, which might mean feast your eyes, look, pay attention, and lo, which means the same thing. Feast your eyes, look, pay attention. Lo means to look. There was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven, right? So all these different militaries, these different people from everywhere, they're going to be gathered together, right, to subdue the man that came out of the sea, which is talking about the Shemayims out of the heavens, right? Ascending, right? But I beheld, right, to look, feast your eyes, look, pay attention, and lo, to look, he had given himself a great mountain, right? Big, huge vessel. It's so big. It's the only way you could describe it is like a mountain. It's huge, and flew upon it. So wait a minute, what flying? A mountain flying? Well, this is what they've been seeing. The UAPs, the UFOs, right? But this one's massive, right? Which I really like that the Independence Day. And how they show you, which I believe Yahweh Shai's chariot is going to be even bigger than that. It's going to be bigger than that. But it does kind of show you in the Independence Day when the chariot comes over, and it just, because New York is pretty massive. For that thing to cast a shadow over all of New York, over all these different cities, man. And then you see the chariots; they're everywhere. They're not just over just one particular city. They went over each city and covered it. That's what's going to happen again. But the Lord has said he's going to come from the valley of Yahweh Shaphat to see them while they're in the midst of fighting. and stop them from fighting. And they're all going to come. They're going to stop fighting and to fight the Lord. They're going to come against the Lord, right? And flew upon it, right? The UFO fathership. But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was driven, and I could not. It says, and after this I beheld, right, to look, feast your eyes, look, pay attention, and lo, they which were gathered together to subdue him, right, to fight against him, were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. They're going to come and fight against the Lord, right? So you all are going to be in the valley of Yahweh Shaphat in order to make this prophecy come to pass, right? This is definitely finna happen. Yeah, so with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, your chwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. Abba Kwam Yasharala. We got next.